All right, let me move on to the state senator, James Skoufis. You are the chair of the Investigations and Government Oversight Committee. You've been doing some form of investigation. This is not where the impeachment would come out of, but where are we? And I take it the legislature is hoping, many of you, the Democrats, is hoping that he chooses resignation over this process. But are you prepared to go through with this process?
We are. And look, as far as being chair of investigations on this particular matter, the sexual harassment piece, there's nothing left to investigate. The attorney general did an incredibly thorough, fair, independent job. Her team interviewed almost 200 individuals, reviewed over 70,000 documents. There's nothing left to investigate. And they corroborated all 11 women and found them credible. And so here's the matter of fact. It is over for Governor Cuomo. And it's only a matter of time before he internalizes this, but it's over. There's no maybe, there's no gray area, there's no conceivable scenario or path where he can ride this out. He will no longer be governor, and it's only a matter of time before that happens. My hope, I think everyone's hope, is that he resigns, he steps down willingly and spares the state, spares the Democratic Party from an ugly impeachment proceeding. But make no mistake, if he does not step down immediately, and by immediately, I don't mean in a month or a couple weeks, I mean like today or tomorrow, right, the legislature is prepared to move forward and the votes are there comfortably for impeachment.
The timeline we've seen is September and October. You know, that may be, it seems as if the governor's had one goal in all of this as he's been under siege here over the last few months, it's been to buy time. That seems to buy time. Is there a path to expediting this, given what you just pointed out? The investigation is done. It's not like you guys have to do a new investigation. Or are there other items on the impeachment list that would be put on there over the next 4 to 6 weeks, and that's why you would want time?
Well, look, the Assembly Judiciary Committee has a meeting scheduled for this Monday. I strongly suspect that you're going to see some action taken by the committee. I don't know if it'll be a full referral of an article of impeachment to the full assembly, but there'll be some concrete action, some next step at that point. And the writing is explicitly on the wall here. I do not believe it's going to come down to the legislature having to impeach and convict him, because the governor, I can't imagine, will want to go through the further embarrassment, the further shame of being actively removed, impeached by his own party. And so once he internalizes that this is happening and there's no stopping it, I have to imagine he's going to step down willingly. But the timeline, look, I think there's an appetite to move as quickly as possible, but there's basically no precedent here. This has happened one time in New York State history, over 100 years ago. Right. There's no playbook. And so if we do move forward, or if we're forced to move forward, I should say, we want to get it right. We want to be responsible about drafting the article or articles of impeachment. And we're prepared to move as quickly but responsibly as possible.
You seem to think that the governor, do you know something that the governor is, there are people around him that are urging this, or are you just applying rationality to what you believe is going to happen?
I think mostly the latter. But look, I've been in the legislature now for 9 years. I've some pretty strong sense of how the governor operates. And he's no dummy. You know, he's a political animal. He understands government and vote counting and politics. He saw it this morning's poll, I'm sure. Prior to yesterday, he could at least hang his hat in the fact that there was some base within the Democratic Party who was waiting for the Attorney General's report before casting judgment. He has none of that. He can count the votes. He knows what's going on. He knows that he must know, if he doesn't already, very soon, that the end is nigh. And he believes and wants to protect as much few shreds of legacy that he can at this point. And most of it's gone. But if he's impeached and convicted by his own party in the legislature, it's even more tattered than it is right now. And so I suspect, out of self-interest, if nothing else, once he internalizes that this is indeed happening, he's going to step down.
Senator Skoufis, has anybody made the case for you that, hey, As long as he promises not to seek re-election, can that be enough and move on? Has anybody attempted to make that case to you?
Literally no one. And so, I think we're past that point. We're using the governor's own standard, by the way. I was on your show 5 months ago or so, and I called on him to resign. At that point, early on, I caught some flack from rank and file folks in my party. But his standard at that time was, let's hit the pause button, let the attorney general's investigation play out. Let's see the conclusion of that report, and then cast judgment. Yep. Then the truth will come out. And so using his own standard, we have now given him that due process. And now he's trying to move the goalposts because the truth in the report did not jive with his false impression of what happened with these 11 women. And so look, using his own words from 5 months ago, he ought to be removed. He is not fit to continue serving as governor of New York State.